Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Again, we appreciate all your support, subscribing and liking, finding us on the web and Facebook. I wanted to take a quick minute here and jump on and talk about Obamacare health insurance and how it affects your tax return. So, as many of you know, when you sign up for Obamacare, you try to give them the best possible estimate of your income, the total household income, and depending on where that falls in their formula with the number of people in your household, you may or may not qualify for subsidies or premium tax credits. They have a very confusing formula on how that shakes itself out, but it's all based on the size of your family and your income. And you go all year and you pay your health insurance premiums. And again, you may get credits, you may not, but if you do, it's important to note how these will affect your tax return. So I always tell people it's always best to err on the side of conservative. In other words, if your household income is around $70,000, I always try to estimate maybe $75,000 to $80,000. Yes, that may reduce your credits throughout the year, and you may pay a little bit more out of pocket each year, but when you file your return and the IRS reconciles that against your income estimate, you may get some additional money back in the form of a refund. So with the Obamacare health insurance, the only way that they can reconcile the program is through your tax return. And so where that bites a lot of people is when they underestimate their income. Let's say they put in $50,000 and the income ends up being $70,000, and you can see where I'm going with this. You're gonna have tax due as part of your return. Now, people may say, well, it's not a tax, and you're right, it's not a tax, but many years ago when that was passed into legislation, they voted to use the return as the collection vehicle to get those premiums back. So I wanted to take a second here and talk about some of the things that you need to be looking out for, because I've been doing this long enough and I've seen where different life situations or circumstances can really impact your premium payback. You could estimate the best possible way for the entire year, but then something happens and before you know it, you file your return and all of a sudden there's sticker shock. So let me run through a couple of those. The first one is gambling. Okay, now many of you may know that you can offset gambling winnings with gambling losses up to the extent of the winnings, but only you can do that on your Schedule A if you itemize your return. So if you've got winnings of 20, 30, 40,000 and up, and you've spent that much to collect that, then you can deduct that on your Schedule A and basically wipe out that income. But if you win a $10,000 slot or a $15,000 lottery ticket, you may not be able to offset that with losses just because the standard deduction is so high, and you have to count that as income. Well, if your income estimate just got bumped by $15,000 or $20,000 because of a lucky ticket or a lucky pull at the casino, it's going to increase your income for the entire year, and it's going to overestimate your income estimate, and you're going to have tax due. So that's one thing to be looking out for, is gambling, if you win in gambling. Now, at this point, if you do find that you have had one of these life events that really changes your tax return, one of the best things you can do is, if you do fall into one of these categories, notify Marketplace immediately and let them know that your income has changed. And yes, your premiums will change per month for the rest of the year, but at least it might help stave off some of the tax due that you could have come the spring. Another one is self-employment. So I had just the other day, a self-employed realtor. And, for the most part, their year may be pretty steady, sell a few homes. They kind of know what to expect as far as income and sales and commissions. But this fella sold a plot of land for about $16 million. And by the time he got his commission, it was several $100,000 worth of commission. And he has a family of 4 on Obamacare. And so once we got through working out the potential tax on that hit, which is a great hit, by the way. The problem is we also have to add in not just the tax, but now the Obamacare premiums that he's going to have to pay back as well. And that tacked on about another $30,000 according to my estimate. So again, a life change, a life event. It was great news, but we got to plan accordingly. It's not sometimes just income tax that's due. It could be these premiums. Another one is retirement distributions. Again, for whatever situation it may be. Maybe you want to pave your driveway or put on an addition onto the house or screen in a porch. And rather than taking an equity line, you say, well, I'm going to go to my 401k, I'm going to go to my traditional IRA and pull out $20,000 to pave my driveway. And yes, there's taxes and penalties on that if you're under 59 and a half. But that will also go to increase your income that maybe wasn't tallied in there when you gave Marketplace your estimate. So I've had that several times where a spouse pulls out 20 grand out of retirement, maybe doesn't tell anybody, certainly doesn't tell me, and then we do the return and it's like, whoa, well, we had planned on having the taxes withheld and the 10%, which is great, but we didn't have the Obamacare premiums withheld. So keep that in mind. Another one is the death of a family member. Let's say you're the beneficiary. Now, life insurance obviously isn't taxable. Primarily what I'm talking about there is I've had a situation where a parent died and left them a home or some land or a property, and they end up selling it, and all of a sudden they've got this capital gain, wasn't part of their income estimate to Marketplace. And again, all of a sudden, we've got not only capital gains tax due, but now Obamacare premiums. So you can see where I'm going with this. I'm trying to give everybody a heads up on things to look for if you're on Marketplace and you have some of these life events that can not only change your return and tax due, but also Obamacare premiums. Probably the last one, and this kind of goes back to the realtor and the commissions. I'll just give you one more example. This one isn't a self-employed fellow, but he is a W-2'd car salesman, okay? So he sells new cars for a living, does well, income estimates are fine. All of a sudden, he reaches third or fourth quarter and sells a ton of cars over and above what he normally may do, or she, and all of a sudden, bam, she's gotten herself a nice bonus, a nice commission that was not part of her regular commissions or his regular commissions from selling cars. And that bonus could be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Again, a change to their normal income that is going to affect the income estimate for your health insurance. So the bottom line is, I just wanted to take a few minutes, give you guys a heads up. If you're on Obamacare and you've given what you thought was a pretty reasonable or even conservative income estimate and have had one of these events happen in your life, notify Marketplace immediately and notify your tax preparer, because you may end up having to do some estimated payments to get out in front of the insurance premium payback, okay? So let me run through those again. This doesn't cover all of them, but at least it'll give you something to think about. Gambling, self-employment, a big commission, a big hit, a big sale, bonuses, spiffs, they even call them spiffs, things at work, you hit a level for whatever reason, your normal pay goes up. An early retirement distribution, something out of the norm that you pull money out again for a vacation or some other event. And then finally, the death of someone and you're the beneficiary. Could be land, could be a house sale, could be anything. But main thing is be on the lookout for anything that could change your normal income from year to year, and let's get out in front of it. Okay, hope that helps. Again, appreciate all the support. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe, and you can find us on the web at paychecks-plus.com and on Facebook at Paychecks Plus. Thank you guys. Appreciate all your support. We'll see you next time.